A listener name. You know how everyone's freaking out about AI in schools right now?
Hmm.
Well, buckle up because we're diving into Jaryd Raizon's article from the confirmed publication name, and he's making some serious waves.
Oh, yeah.
He's saying that banning AI in the classroom, it's not just like old-fashioned, it's a huge mistake.
It's a hot debate for sure. And, Raison doesn't hold back.
No, he does not.
The way he uses the history of technology in the classroom to kind of like make his point is really clever.
It really is. Like, remember when schools were freaking out about calculators?
Oh, yeah,
Or the internet? Like, it was this scary thing. Raison totally connects that to what's happening with AI right now.
totally. It's like we've been here before.
Right.
Right. And I think that's why this analogy that he's making really resonates. It makes us think about like our own biases when it comes to technology in the classroom, because honestly, who can imagine education without the internet now?
I know.
But Raison's arguing that instead of being afraid of AI, we should think about it like just like the internet as a way to completely change how we learn.
So instead of banning it, he's saying we need to like totally rethink things.
Exactly. We need a total overhaul. And like the foundation of that overhaul for Raison is this shift from just memorizing stuff to developing what he calls like soft skills.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a sec because soft skill is kind of a vague term. What does he actually mean by that? How does it relate to AI?
He's saying that in a world where you can just be like, hey, AI, what's the capital of whatever?
Right.
Like you don't need to memorize facts anymore.
It's all on your phone.
Right. So what matters more are things that AI can't do. Those like uniquely human skills, critical
Oh,
thinking, being adaptable, communication. Asking the right questions, like listener name, think about it. Those are the things you can't program.
that's so true. It's like, okay, I don't need to know all the capitals, but like, what do I do with the information?
Exactly. And Raisin makes a super strong argument about why those skills are going to be even more important as AI becomes more and more a part of everything.
So how do we actually do that? How do we get schools to make this change? I know Raisin talks about what Yale is doing, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, he talks about how Yale School of Management is going all in on AI. They're not just letting students use it. They're spending millions of dollars to make sure students have access to the best AI tools.
Wow.
Talk about being ahead of the game.
Yale spending millions on AI for their students. It's pretty wild to think about, right? But Raisin says it's not actually about having a ton of money.
Yeah, he's really pushing back on that idea. He's saying that teachers can start incorporating AI into their lessons, even without, a massive
No.
budget. Like there are tons of free AI tools out there. It's more about changing how we teach than like just throwing money at the problem.
I like that. Because not every school has, you know, Yale's resources.
Exactly.
But every educator can at least like explore changing their approach.
Right. And he actually gives some concrete examples of how to do that. He talks about like rethinking how we assess students. Like maybe we focus more on handwritten work and presentations, things that AI can't just do for you.
That's super interesting because, yeah, if you think about it, a lot of traditional testing, like multiple choice quizzes, AI can ace that stuff, no problem now. So then how do you make sure students are actually learning and not just, getting AI to do the work for them?
That is the big question, right? And Raison says we need to make AI literacy like a core part of the curriculum. Like we have to teach students how AI works, its limitations, and the ethics of using it.
So it's not just about teaching them to use AI, it's about using it responsibly. It's almost like digital citizenship, but for AI.
Totally. It's about giving them the skills to like question the information they're getting, whether it's from a human or from AI.
Right. Which reminds me of that Boston Consulting Group study that Raison talks about. They look at how AI can actually boost productivity in some tasks. Do you remember what he said about that?
Yeah, yeah. That study was so interesting because it showed that AI isn't like this magic solution for everything. Like there are some tasks where it can really help and some where it can actually make things harder.
So it's about being smart about it, not using AI for everything, but figuring out where it makes the most sense.
Right. And it goes back to those soft skills we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to figure out when to use AI, how to use it, and how to understand the results. Those are going to be really important skills.
It feels like that's kind of a theme with Raison. It's not about replacing teachers or getting rid of traditional learning. It's about finding that balance.
Totally. He actually has a message specifically for educators.
Hmm.
He's saying, your job is definitely changing, but that's not a bad thing. Like embrace it.
He wants them to see AI as a tool that can help them too, like
Yeah.
for their own professional development.
Yes. It's like he's saying, hey, you can use AI to plan your lessons, create more engaging content, grade more efficiently, even personalize learning.
Yeah.
It's about giving teachers more tools, not taking their jobs.
Which is really important because I think there's a lot of fear around AI, especially in education, where people are worried about being replaced by technology.
And that's totally understandable. But Raizon is presenting a more optimistic view of the future, and I think a more realistic one.
It's funny, right? We always hear about how AI is going to take over the world and all that.
Hmm.
But Raison is really looking at the positive side of things, like what we can do with this technology.
Totally. And it's not just about making things easier or faster. He's saying that by using AI in education, we're actually getting students ready for a future where AI is everywhere.
It's like we're not just teaching them about AI in the classroom. We're giving them the skills to live in a world where AI is just part of life.
Exactly. It's about making sure they can be good citizens. You know,
Yeah.
people who understand AI and how to use it ethically. And honestly, listener name, I think that's something we could all use a little more of, right? Not just students.
For sure. It really makes you think about how these ideas go beyond just schools, like how they apply to our own jobs and our lives in general.
Totally. It's about having that curious mindset,
Yeah.
being open to learning new things and being able to think critically. Those are the kinds of skills that will always be valuable no matter what happens with technology.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive listener name, what are some of the big takeaways you hope people will remember from Raison's article?
I think the biggest thing is that he really challenges us to rethink how we feel about AI in education. It's not about just giving kids another gadget. It's about really changing how we teach and what we teach. And for Raison, that all comes down to shifting away from just rote memorization and focusing on building those essential human skills that AI can't replace.
Yeah, and he makes a really strong case for why that's so important, and not just for the future of education, but for the future of work. For all of us, really, as we navigate this increasingly AI-driven world.
Exactly. He leaves us with this idea of being open to change, embracing new possibilities, and remembering that in the age of AI, it's our ability to learn and adapt and think for ourselves that will always be our greatest strength.
Oh,